Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Tuesday, September 30th, about 4:30 in the afternoon, and this is our daily recap video for our 4 Roundhill weekly paying funds. The first 3 are the 0DTE covered call strategy ETFs on the indexes, QDTE for the NASDAQ 100, XDTE for the S&P 500, and RDTE for the Russell 2000. The fourth is a Bitcoin covered call strategy ETF, YBTC. It's structured a little bit different than the first 3. We'll explain it when we get into the charts. Reminder, I'm on X at ETF_Inspector1. Not only do I repost things from the different ETFs, any types of announcements, declarations, but specific to this video, I let you know these 0-day trades that get made first thing in the morning, unless I'm tied up in something at work that I can't walk away from for a second. But I got these out within 5 minutes of them becoming available. So if you are interested in keeping up with it or trading along, you have that information presented to you quickly. All right, let's take a look at how markets are performing today, or performed. It's closed now. NDX, for starters, was up 0.28%. For some odd reason, well, actually, I'll be able to explain the reason. QDTE was not able to keep up or move up at all. They stayed flat. SPX, S&P 500, was up 0.41%. Again, the underlying was not able to keep up, or the ETF, not able to keep up with its underlying, only going up 0.08%. Russell 2000 went up 0.05%. So in this instance, the ETF from Roundhill was able to outperform, going up more than 3 times as much, 0.18%. And then finally, YBTC is based off of IBIT. IBIT was up 0.05%, while YBTC increased 1.33%. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at how they performed on those 0-day trades. Starting with QDTE. They're the largest, so they're the most popular. QDTE sold 393 calls on the NDX expiring today with a strike price of $24,600. They collected $31.98. So between the first 2 days, really swinging for the fence. $1.2 million collected in premium. NDX closed at $24,679.99. That's $79.99 beyond the strike price. So paying that cost $3.1 million. So when you take away the 1.2 collected, the day resulted in a $1.8 million loss, and they have now turned negative for the trading week after only bringing in $1 million yesterday. When we take a look at the holdings, there was no changes in the synthetics, the holdings. They buy these deep in the money calls, and then they're dated anywhere from this December all the way to next December at different strike prices, and they sell calls off of those. So no changes from yesterday. There's $964 million in assets under management, 27,110,000 shares, and the NAV at the start of the day, 35.58. They closed basically even, so they didn't really change. It's just trading at a 1 or 2 cent premium. Tomorrow is declaration day for the first 3, these 3 0DTE strategies. October 1st is declaration day, but we do know tonight at 8 o'clock at night, or after 8 o'clock at night, if you're that interested, you can go check Roundhill's website, and they put the information on their website, even though they wait till the next morning to publicly make the announcement. Their most recent distribution, just over 20 cents, and I'm guessing that they're going to stay very close to it. 20.5 cents was the guess I made. If you want to see how I got there, go back and watch Friday's guesstimate video. Next, we look at XDTE, trading on the S&P. They sold 625 calls with a strike price of $6,660, collecting $7.88 per share premium, or $492,000. SPX closed at 66 $88.46. That's $28.46 too much, so that would be the cash settle price to close it out. And that's 1.7 million. So when you take away the premium collected, it results in a $1.2 million loss on the trading day. And they also have now turned negative for the trading week, deep into the negative. When we look at XDTE's holdings, again, no change from yesterday. So we've got these 4 sets of deep in the money calls, or leaps, and then $418 million in assets under management. One change we did notice, they closed out. They don't have the line item for their First American government funds. That they do kind of come and go. Sometimes they've got money in that, sometimes they don't. It just all depends. But $418 million in assets under management, just under 9.5 million outstanding shares. NAV at the start of the day was $44.18. Obviously, it had a slight increase, so the share price closed at $44.24. Last week's distribution was just under 17 cents. Excuse me. And the guesstimate that I have for tomorrow's announcement is 20 cents. Last of the 3, RDTE sold 670 calls on the Russell 2000 with a strike price of $2,445. They collected $397 per share premium, or $265,000. Russell 2000 closed at 2436.48. That's below the 2445. It doesn't cost anything to settle it out, and they get to keep the full $265,000 as profit. So 2 days, they're up to a little over $400,000 profit on the week. When we take a look at their holdings, again, if I have changes, right, if they sell some or buy some more of these synthetics, I'll just have a plus or minus and a quantity right here to the right. So that's not the case, no changes. We did notice this was kind of odd, but they sold some calls on the Russell with the strike of 24.45. It seems like maybe these are weeklies. Let me actually take 1 second. There was an extra column. So these expire. That doesn't even make any sense. So these are yesterday's calls. This is a mistake in the download. So I would ignore this line item. These expire on the 29th. So these are actually the calls that they had sold yesterday. These 929 $2,445s. So for some reason they just didn't come off the books. They carried over to the next day with a 5 cent cost, even although they should have been nothing. So maybe just an oddity. Maybe there was an odd bid-ask spread, and even though they were worthless, they were showing up as a nickel, so they carried over. I don't know, but either way, $3,000 in a $163 million fund really doesn't make a difference. That'll be gone tomorrow. There's $163 million, like I just said, assets under management, 4.88 million outstanding shares. The NAV at the start of the day, 33.42, and the share price increased just a little bit. That is because the underlying increased a little bit, and they also made money on their trades. So I did say I would explain, but I forgot to. QDTE, while NASDAQ 100 was up over 0.25%, so the things that they're holding will go up in value, but then having to pay $79.99 per share, or $3.1 million, taking that loss, that overall $1.8 million loss, that ended up getting rid of all the gains that they made with the increased value. So that's why they weren't able to keep up. Same thing with XDTE, losing overall 1.2 million on the day. Basically gave up the majority of the percentage increase that their holdings would have moved up. So RDTE, on the opposite, their underlyings went up slightly in value, but then they also brought in money, so the two combined to increase the share price at a higher percentage than the underlying. Hopefully that makes sense. Last but not least, should have probably started with these. YBTC, today was declaration day for them, so we found out late last night, but they declared basically 40 cents, 39.9636 cents. My guesstimate was 41.2680 cents, so I was off by excuse me, I was off by 3.25%. But in any case, we're getting roughly 40 cents. We got 41 cents last week, so staying pretty much the same. Yesterday, YBTC increased, which brought up these value of their synthetic, making it $7.8 million to close out, whereas the day before it was going to cost $23 million to close out. YBTC is up slightly again today, so this will increase in value again when we get the download, but it won't be very significant. This will just get a little bit cheaper to close out. We did notice more shares, so they sold, or they bought more calls and sold more puts in their synthetic, which is 1017 with a strike of 66.70, and then they also sold more calls at this week's strike price of 63.33, which is in the money by 2.5%, and currently going to cost a fortune to close out, $10.3 million, when they only collected about $2.7 million on the initial sale, roughly, based off of, we only get to pick up on their holdings. They don't give us their daily trades and money collected the way they do with the other funds. All right, there's $329 million in assets under management, 7,310,000 outstanding shares. That's not adding up, that the NAV would be higher than the share price even after the share price increased today. So as usual, that means they have not updated their outstanding shares yet, and when they do, this will increase, which will, when dividing the assets under management by the increased shares, will give you a smaller number that will be closer. So we anticipate seeing that in the next day or two. Not sure why they're so slow on updating that information, but all right, that's all I've got for you. Hope you had a good trading day. Catch you in the next video, and good luck trading tomorrow.